around the room and see some faces that I recognise from the Clayton Hall. So my role here is to try and give you a little bit of an overview of MRS. Now, of course, it's hard for me to sit back and think, I've got 10 minutes, what sort of information is it that you need to be able to pass on to students around the university. So I thought I'd give just a very brief overview of what we do, at what scale we do it, and then a little bit about some of the programs that we run, so that those of you who aren't familiar with, having lived in Res previously, have something that you can actually talk to people about if they raise that question. I think it's, we start with why we do what we do, and I'm not sure if I'm just going to basically repeat the same structure as the sport one, but we focus really heavily on what we do and why we do it at MRS. And so our mission goals, which of course doesn't have goals within it, but that's all right, is to provide care and support for the residential community, having regard for individual and group needs, recognising and valuing diversity, creating opportunities for mutually beneficial interaction, offering secure living which safeguards the general welfare of its members, and achieving excellence in delivery of services to customers. But really what we do is provide on-campus accommodation for students, people who study at the university and who want to live close to or on campus. And within that, we have some really clear things that we want to do. We want the service to be perceived as value for money, just in terms of a very broad, how much does a room cost to live on campus compared with how much it would cost me to live off campus. Because it's hard for us to explain all the services that you get, the benefits you get from living on campus to someone who hasn't yet done that. But more than that, it's to then take people who then say, all right, I'm going to live on campus because it seems like it's good value for money, because it's all inclusive and it's close, so I don't have to have a car and I can just walk to classes, and then make that experience even better. So we try and do that through providing care, support, growth and enrichment. So sports day, they're almost 24 hours. Well, we are 24 hours. The office for MRS on the Clayton campus operates from 8:30 in the morning until 9 o'clock at night. So that's just our, I suppose, our administration operations office. But our residential support staff live on site and are accessible and respond 24 hours a day, 7 days a week during university holidays. At the moment, university hasn't started yet. We have full residential support for all students. Residential support staff have access to the support services provided by the university. And I think this is, if someone that you engage with is having a problem, one of the things that our residential support teams do is understand the university system and the best way of accessing and providing support for students. So we don't provide a counselling service in Res, we don't have a health service in Res, we don't have any kind of religious bent in Res, but what we do is utilise the university services. So we know that where those services are, and we know how to connect people. We organise activities and programs, so I'm calling it orientation week for you guys, but we actually run an orientation period that starts at the start of February and finishes at the end of February. So a full month for some residents. If you arrive early, there's welcomes, there's activities that are organised in Briggs and Jacquemus Hall, so the new halls of residence, where the rented year actually starts a little bit earlier. We run programs during that period. And even for just the residents who come in a little bit later to the halls of residence, we run a full 2-week orientation program that starts a week before university's orientation, so that we orient our students into Res, and then we orient them into the university through the orientation program. So we don't clash with anything that the university does. We work with the Student Association, where we think that there's some really good opportunities for our students to get involved in things that are being organised there. We work with sport to do activities with them as well. We also organise social activities throughout the year, so we've got there some examples: suppers, dinings, outings, dinners, the sort of things that help a community come together. We don't have a formal academic tutoring program within the hall, so we are a residential college, or we provide residential colleges, not academic colleges. So sometimes people ask that question: is it like, my mum or dad went to this college at this university where they had tutors and all that sort of stuff? We don't provide that service. We, as I said, residential colleges, but we do promote academic environments within the residences. So we have not only informal academic programs that are offered and places like study spaces, but we also do things around academic and leadership dinners, key opportunities for leaders to come along to really interesting events. We also provide community and charity-based events, so some of the ones that we supported last year: Shave for a Cure, Live Below the Line, One World Week, mental health first aid. We also had a lot of people participating in November and raised a lot of money for that as well. We have a program called ResStart, which is for new residents who come in. It's an online system, so it's a website that we direct people to that helps them with some of the transition issues that they might have coming to university, coming into residences and living in a different place. So obviously anyone who lives in res can't commute easily from where their family is to on campus. So that usually means that people come from at least an hour away from metropolitan Melbourne. That certainly doesn't mean that they have to do that. We have people who live in metropolitan Melbourne and for ease of public transport, for example, live on campus. But our ResStart program is there to try and assist people with some of the questions they might have, links back into the university's transition programs. So as an international student, you might be directed to some information online provided by the university. We'll link back to that as well as providing specific information to our cohort. And it's followed up with a ResStart seminar, which is, again, more information about what it's like living on campus and some of the questions that people have. And one of the key things that we do for our first year, so if you're talking to someone who's struggling a little bit, is that we conduct an interview with every single first year resident in week 4 or 5. So around that survival week time, when we know that students are often just got over that hype of coming to a new place, I'm moving in, this is going to be great, to I'm not really sure what's going on, I've got some questions that I feel embarrassed to ask now and I don't even know what's happening. We conduct an interview, usually their resident advisor undertakes that interview, so they're one of the senior student leaders that we have. Conduct an interview with that student for about 25 minutes to half an hour at most, just to see how they're settling in. We have a whole lot more, but I figure that you guys are sitting here listening to people talk all day. So I just, the take-home message is care, support, growth and enrichment is what we promote. It's important for you and for everyone to understand the diversity of our residents. We work in really broad figures, and I'm of course about to contradict what's written up on this screen, but we're about 50% domestic and 50% international students. In actual fact, at the moment, we're slightly higher with our international student numbers, and that's because we've had such excellent retention of international students in Briggs and Jacobs Hall. So in our studio apartment accommodation, we've had really high retention rate of international students, and so we've actually bumped those numbers up. So we have slightly more international students than domestic students. In terms of the traditional or the older halls, our numbers are closer to 50-50 domestic and international. And that's important for everyone to remember. The domestic students are exposed to a far more diverse community than they're likely to experience, particularly if they're rural. So students who've grown up their whole life in a relatively small rural centre or even a large rural centre will not have experienced the level of diversity that we get to celebrate and all the really good stuff that comes from that in res. Might also surprise people to know that less than a third of our residents are actually first years. 2/3 or a little bit more than 2/3 of our residents are actually second year or higher. And you can see just from this graph that almost 15% are in 4th year or in postgraduate study. So we've got a significant proportion of our residents who are at least 21, 22, 23 years of age. But of course the majority are those who just come to university or are in their second year. So over 60 or 65% of our residents across all of MRS are in first or second year. But when we're looking at the programs that we offer and the way in which we offer them, we have to be really conscious of the fact that most people who live in res have actually been at university for at least a year. So we try and create opportunities for interaction and developing relationships between our residents. Part of the role of running a residential college is to actually promote the benefits that can have. Living with somewhere between 110 and 300 other people is one of the greatest opportunities that we can provide a student at the university. But within that, you've got to understand why you might want those benefits. So we have things like a residence committee, which has representatives from across all of our halls of residence, all of our campuses, who work together to create activities that address the needs of the entire community. I'm particularly proud of the mental health first aid program that we run in MRS. All of our student leaders are mental health first aid trained, all of our staff are mental health first aid trained. In actual fact, a little bit better than 1 in 5 of our residents is mental health first aid trained, which means we have a very conscious community around mental health issues, one that's much more understanding of the prevalence and the treatments available for mental health issues for university students, And we find that training and the focus that we have on that training gives us a much better way of supporting residents who need a little bit of extra assistance because of mental health issue. Other things that are particularly enjoyable, things like Random Acts of Kindness Week, which is run across most of our residences, where people sign up and they just get given a name, and their job is over the next week to do something random and lovely for someone. And some of the things that get done in those weeks are absolutely wonderful. It's about the community, it's about making someone know that they're getting supported by the community, not by someone that they know. The whole point of Random Acts of Kindness Week is that you don't know the person who's been kind to you, it's just someone in the residence. Around the mental health area, Are You OK Day is a really important one for us. Timing of Are You OK Day is actually from a university perspective, it's a great time to just sort of check in with people, to actually have a conversation with someone about that. We have a really strong volunteering program, so we try and work with some of our younger student leaders around. This year we've offered a Certificate 3 in active volunteering to people who work on orientation teams and our social committees, opportunities to volunteer at Open Day, as well as our resident advisors are all volunteer leaders as well. We have floor, house, wing group meetings to make sure that people have an opportunity to talk to their fellow residents. And lots of environmental initiatives as well. So across the board, through social, welfare and environmental, we've got activities that run all the time. In terms of health and safety, we have a very strong relationship with Monash Security. We have 24-hour security at the campus, but we actually have dedicated security for the halls of residence. In fact, we have 2 working every night, and then additional guards when necessary. And they're not there to try and enforce the rules, they're actually there to make our residents as safe as they possibly can be. So they're the people who let someone in who's locked their keys in their room, who will assist you if there's any problems, who will identify any potential issues and tell staff. All of our staff and student leaders, our entire residential support teams are mental health first aid trained, but the majority are also first aid trained. We have lockable bedrooms, secure access. Access to all of our buildings is through student cards, so your cards are activated to give you access to those buildings, so we can exclude people who aren't residents. The security buses are a very useful service for our students because it can take them from wherever they are on campus to home, and the security escort service does the same thing. And the shuttle bus between campuses is also helpful and close. And the last one, because it's one of my passions, is our vegetable garden and fruit trees that help us promote the healthy lifestyle. We're trying to build skills in people, so we're trying to make them feel safe, also building them up for what they can do when they leave us. Personal level, I think we do an exceptionally good job across the board at MRS in providing exactly what we say we're going to do. We survey very extensively our residents to make sure that they are getting what they want. So, how people are satisfied with their overall residential experience, you can see just on that. Anything more than blue is moderately, often, mostly or extremely satisfied. We aim for a 95% satisfaction. Actually, we aim for 100% satisfaction, but across the last 7 years, our average has floated basically around at 95% broadly satisfied, which is we're particularly proud of, because I think if you say you've got a 100% satisfaction rate, you're kidding yourself. You're not actually surveying people properly. We get over 75% survey return rates for most of our surveys, which means we're pretty confident that people who live in halls enjoy living in halls. I hope I can get some nods from people who live in halls, how wonderful it is. Please, those of you who are or have lived in res, talk to these guys, the others in the room, about how good it can be. To what extent has living on campus enhanced your learning experience? Again, if it's blue or green, they're the sort of numbers you want. Again, people finding that living on campus enhances their learning experience. Great opportunity to get to know people who are studying a degree, close to campus. We might have people who are socially active and like to go out, but if you've only got 1 hour of lectures on a Friday and you live on campus, you're far more likely, I think, to attend 1 hour of lecture than someone who lives in Box Hill. And I think that is an opportunity for people to have their cake and eat it too, really, is that the proximity to campus means that it's a 15-minute walk to your classes, it's a 15-minute walk back, and our residents, we know this because we ask the questions and we see the statistics, attend classes more and get better marks. Ooh.
That's it.
So we go back. I'm an incredibly strong advocate. As someone who's been an undergraduate and postgraduate student at Monash, and never lived in res when I was an undergraduate or postgraduate, I couldn't think of a better thing for someone to do. I understand it's not possible or even appropriate for everyone to do it, but you guys, if someone's asking that question about umming and ahhing, I genuinely believe that it is something that people who need accommodation in and around the campus should seriously consider, because it gives you the opportunity to be more involved in things like this, to be more involved in a wonderful, diverse community, and it gives you a wonderful opportunity to be much closer to your studies. And in that sense, I think it's a really, really valuable experience. Does anyone got any questions for me? Will make me happier than the guys from sport who didn't have any. Have I planted a... Oh, perfect. I didn't plan an RA to ask this question, but I'll let it happen. Yes?
You mentioned the security escort service. Yeah, how does that work?
Has security come in and...
No, that's tomorrow.
Are they coming? Okay. Basically, if you're feeling unsafe, well, not unsafe, okay, if you don't feel comfortable going between places on campus, you can actually call security and ask for an escort. So you say you're in the library and you need to get to the bus loop and you don't feel comfortable walking there, you can actually call security and say, I'm at the library and I'd like to go to the bus loop. And now, it won't be always on demand, but someone from security will escort you from the library to the bus loop to make sure you feel safe. So it's not about the actual safety, because I'll say knowing it's quite very safe to walk from the library to the bus loop on campus, but it doesn't mean that everyone always feels safe, and so that's to promote that safety. And the same thing goes if someone feels that they want to get back to res. So you've been studying in the engineering computer labs until 3 in the morning. You can call security and say, I'm in the engineering computer labs, I need to get back to Normanby House to go to bed. Can someone please escort me back there so I can feel safe? And that's one of the services that security provides. And it's not just a res thing. If you need to get from the library to the computer labs, they also do that. And the thing is, you just wait until someone's available to do it and they'll escort you there. And they're all lovely, most of the guards at night. And I'm more than happy to provide that service, because it's about not just being safe on campus, it's about making sure everyone feels safe on campus. Thank you. Other question, I'm happy. I will have any others if anyone's got any other questions. Brilliant. Well done, guys. I think this is a wonderful thing. You're probably getting everyone saying this. I think this is absolutely fantastic what you're doing. Brilliant. Well done to Steph for making it happen, but well done to you guys for actually making it happen. I look forward to seeing lots of orange shirts on campus. And if I say this enough, maybe I get one.